offensively, to have an expectation that we're going to flip-flop and all of a sudden be ripping, and we would like to have seen that, but that didn't happen, and we're ways away. Everybody communicated really well. We had no problem functioning and all that, and in a couple of days' time, that's a nice accomplishment by those guys, but we'll get a lot better.
And that was Raiders coach Pete Carroll after the Raiders dropped their 6th straight game of the season to fall to 2-10, this time 31-14 to the Los Angeles Chargers. We're going to get into all of it. Welcome to Vegas Nation First and 10, brought to you by the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports. I'm Vinny Bonsignore. That's Adam Hill. We cover the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and we are very thankful that you are joining us after yet another loss, Adam. New offensive coordinator, Greg Olson, replacing Chip Kelly. Obviously, this was his debut as they're still calling him quarterbacks coach, so quarterbacks coach / play caller, whatever you want to, however you want to term him. Not much really changed. Maybe some subtle things, and we can get into that. But your first thoughts or your initial thoughts on game one with Greg Olson rather than Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator?
I mean, not much different, really.
Yeah.
If you look at it, it took until a long drive in the fourth quarter for them to cross 100 yards of total offense. I mean,
That's
that is
true.
Such a low bar to try to get over. They had the one pretty good drive, and that's, I think, probably what's very frustrating for fans. I'm sure it's frustrating for players, everybody that follows this team, that they put together a really nice drive for a touchdown in the second quarter. It was capped by a Brock Bowers touchdown.
Yep.
You're like, okay, they got something going. And the 6 of the other first 7 drives netted like 19 total yards, between, I think maybe 22 yards between them on those total out of those drives. So what are you doing on those drives that are working that you're not able to do on other times? I mean, that's a big thing. You can just run down the list of just absolute futility if you want to just go by stats. First team in the Super Bowl era, second team in the Super Bowl era, first since 2016 Cleveland Browns were 1-15 to go 4 straight games allowing at least 4 sacks and rushing for less than 75 yards. I mean, that is just,
like, you have to really dig for that one.
Right, but that's absolutely just, I mean, that's offensive line, right? Exactly. I mean, it's rhythm, it's play calling, it's everything else, but it's the offensive line.
Goes right to the heart of it. Right to the heart of it.
And it goes on and on of what this team does. The first downs were terrible on offense.
12 first downs.
We're terrible on defense in terms of allowing third down conversions on the other side. I mean, it's just the same things over and over again, resulting in the same results over and over again. That's just what this team has been.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Pete Carroll was talking about. Look, if you thought that a change in offensive coordinator was going to dramatically change the outcomes and all of a sudden turn these guys into the greatest show on turf, that was just not going to happen. I mean, the Raiders are at a talent disadvantage. We have been talking about that for months now. And on top of that, when you talk about the offensive line, and we all agree, it didn't start off well at all. There was no point in this season where it was good. But they've also, now they're down 3 starters, 3 guys that came into the season and start. Well, not actually. Jackson Powers-Johnson, I don't think yes, he did come in to the season as a starter.
Just a different position than we expected.
Colton Miller, Jackson Powers-Johnson, and today Jordan Meredith. Not in the lineup, so a not very good offensive line inevitably gets worse when your top 2 players, Jackson Powers-Johnson and Colton Miller, aren't in there. But it was never good even while they were in there. Yeah. So that's a major issue and something that the Raiders are going to have to fix without question in this offseason. And Adam, let's just stay right there, because Jackson Powers-Johnson, DJ Glaze, they came onto the scene last year. It's kind of a reoccurring problem, I guess, is what I'm getting to. And this goes all the way back to, 2023 now? Or at least, 2023, where it's just not been good enough. They have not been able to open holes for running backs. You go back to when Josh Jacobs was the league leader in rushing. That was 2022, right? Since then, I mean, all of a sudden, remember the next year after Josh Jacobs, he was not good. You know why? Because the offensive line was not good. And that's just been on and on and on. And it's gotten worse with the injuries this year. But that's not an easy fix, and it's something that they're going to have to really, really focus on this offseason.
Well, it takes time, and it takes commitment to it and all those things. And look, you go back to, and it's something we've talked about and debated, but they tried for the quick fix. They tried, hey, we're going to fix our running game by drafting a talented running back. Right. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Ashton Genty's a very talented player. He has 1 carry one of 20-plus yards this season.
Yeah.
One. That's not even that like crazy of a number. 20-yard
20,
run.
yeah.
Those should happen.
The one is crazy. The one,
Yeah.
The 20 is not. It should not be
it's
that.
not that high of a bar.
Yeah.
And they have one carry of 20 yards out of Ashton Genty this season, and he's, like I said, he's a talented player. That just tells you it's not opening up. And by the way, he's not making it happen because it's impossible.
Yeah.
Unless you're Barry Sanders, and so he's not.
Right.
Unless you're Barry Sanders, like it's impossible to just turn nothing into something.
Right.
And
great running backs become great running backs after they get to the second level. You have to have an offensive line that gets you at least past the line of scrimmage, and then the great ones take it from there, right? The really good ones. And we saw on, I forget who the long run was against where he scored the touchdown, the Chicago Bears, where lo and behold, he gets to the second level and he does some special things. And we've seen him, make people miss out in space as a pass catcher.
It's also like we'll point out that while they have gotten better, at the time they were on track to be a historically bad run defense, one of the worst we've seen in a long time in the NFL. They've gotten better since then, but that was just maybe the Raiders finding them at the right time and going up against just a really bad defense. And that was the one game they were able to get the run game going. I don't know that you can say the Raiders did something successfully necessarily. Right. Or just taking advantage of a bad team. They just haven't been able to do that all season long. By the way, it's not like they're passing it all over the place either. It's not. Yeah. Let's not pretend like they're passing so well they're just gonna get the run game going. Like they can't really get anything going offensively at all. And whether it was Chip Kelly before, Greg Olson now, time will tell. If it improves, it wasn't going to happen in 1 week, but see a lot of the same things. And it's this might sound like a broken record on this podcast, but it's a broken record on the field. I mean, we're just seeing the same things over and over again every single week.
It's like a nightmare for the Raiders, and us covering the teams, you get to a point where you're just out of questions because it's the same problems, and we're asking the same questions to address the same exact problems, and there's no new answers because there's no real solutions. It's just a reoccurring issue.
Almost surprising when they get a first down.
Yeah,
like it almost is.
Yeah,
they get like, oh wow, hey, look, that was good. They got a first down there. That was
right.
Nice. Like that's the point it's gotten to, and that's just where they are offensively. Again, we just pointed out it took into the fourth quarter to get to 100 yards.
And what was crazy about the whole thing is that they go to the second half to start the second. It's a 7-7 game, So the defense hung in there in the first half for sure. Some of that was maybe on the Chargers. Not
credit Jeremy Chin for breaking Justin Herbert's hand.
Right, exactly. So they had to go to their backup quarterback Trey Lance for a period of time. Unfortunately for the Raiders, they couldn't take advantage, and that's when hey, here's your opening, and the Raiders' offense is just not good enough to even take advantage of that kind of a break, so to speak, not a play on words. And we hope that Justin Herbert is good for the rest of the season. It was his left hand, so they've got a little something to work on. It's not his throwing hand, but again, invariably, you can't always expect your defense to go out there and shut the door and close the door and shut the door and close the door when your offense is repeatedly not doing anything to support that. 3 and outs, turnovers, whatever the case might be, because eventually, I don't care what level you're on, there's going to be a breaking point, and there's going to be a bad play, a bad run fit, a missed tackle, and all of a sudden, now the defense gets its back broken, and that's what happened to start the second half with the long touchdown run, 59-yard touchdown run, and the Chargers go up 14-7.
Yeah, like you said, I think it's eventually you watch and you figure out, okay, they're trying to stay in it. The defense is trying to keep them in it. And eventually, I think part of it, and I think this is certainly the case today, if you look at time possession, it was almost double. It was like 36-24. It's not almost double.
What was it, 40? They didn't even crack 50 plays, I don't think.
Right. And so they're not running plays. They're not keeping the ball. So at some point, the defense can keep, they can keep making stops. They can keep making stands. They're going to get tired. They're going to wear down. That's just nature of the game. And when you're running so many plays on the other side, your defense is going to get worn down. I think we saw that even early in the second half. They break a long run, and then all of a sudden it kind of snowballs from there, because now not only are they probably worn down and tired, but also their confidence is broken a little bit by having a really bad run play on that side. So, I know Pete Carroll said that was inexcusable. You can't have that, but like those things are going to happen when the team runs so many plays. The chances are they're going to break a long play.
Yeah, the other team's pretty
Although,
good.
If the Raiders had 100 plays, I don't know that they'd break any long plays.
That's true.
But I mean, that's just kind of how this works.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, look, if you want a small little glimmer of hope, Adam mentioned that there were 2 long drives. There was one in the first half, one in the second half, and each of those drives definitely featured a guy that wears number 89, and his name is Brock Bowers.
Well, on the end of the drive,
he's pretty good.
He only had 4 targets.
Yeah, again, that's got to change. But there were a couple of passes to him. I think it was on that first drive where he made some nice plays. So, but in addition to that, and I want to say on that first touchdown drive, Jack Besh got involved a little bit. Ashton Jeanty, not necessarily as a runner, but he made a play in the pass game. And really, the only reason I'm saying that is that if you're looking for a small glimmer of hope, the young players, the Jack Besh, a rookie, the Ashton Jeanty, a rookie, Brock Bowers, a second-year player, it gives you at the very least, and this is a stretch, I get it, but at the very least, a little bit of a glimpse of what could be possible if they could ever get the offensive line squared away, and maybe also, get their quarterback situation rectified. That there is talent here, they just can't get to it and can't spring it free in Ashton Jeanty's case consistently enough.
Yeah, and you hope that, like I said, it's a long build, so if you get quarterback this year, you would hope maybe you find an offensive lineman, because if it's 2 years from now that you finally start to get an offensive line, then all of a sudden the guys like Brock Bowers, their rookie contract is going to be up, and then they're moving on, you're starting over. That's kind of the hole that the Raiders have been in for a long time, where if you do find a player, by the time you build around them, those guys are gone, and you're on to the next group of players. And so you hope that it can be quicker, but I know there's a lot of holes on this team. There's just a lot of holes on the roster. They have a ton of guys that are young that are, playing at times, but a lot of guys that are playing at times. We saw Caleb Rogers finally play today for the first time. I think most, if not all, of the touchdowns this year have been scored by guys under 25.
That was a stat that CBS Sports during their telecast put out. Every touchdown that the Raiders have scored, I want to say offensively because they have scored a couple. But let's just say offensively, are players that are 24 or younger, which is, again, a small little glimmer of potential hope. But to Adam's point, you have to expedite getting talent around those young players now. You have to figure something out to make sure that the offensive line isn't just a little bit better next year compared to this year, but a lot better. And now we're going to get into adjustments. I see the lists, and I'm already looking ahead to free agency next year. If there's one strength of free agency going into next year, now granted, guys have to become free agents just because they're scheduled to be free agents. Their teams probably want to re-sign a bunch of those guys, but there should be an opportunity for the Raiders to do maybe what the Chicago Bears did, and make a trade or sign a couple free agents to really
Ben Johnson?
To really fix. Yeah, that's true. But what Ben Johnson also did was help fix the offensive line. They went into free agency, and I believe the draft as well. But free agency and a trade to go get some guys because that was their big issue last year. If you remember, Caleb Williams was running for his life. They couldn't run the ball, and so I think there's ways for the Raiders to address the offensive line next year. It doesn't have to be 5 new guys. You do have Colton Miller. You have Jackson Powers-Johnson, who presumably is going to be pretty good. Maybe Caleb Rogers could be part of that future, and we're going to talk about Caleb Rogers when we get back. But before we take a little quick break, I want to remind everybody that, yes, our offer to you at Vegas Nation still stands. You can get the next 3 months of a digital subscription for Vegas Nation for just 25 cents. And all you have to do is go to mylvrj.com/nation. That's mylvrj.com/nation. And get the next 3 months of a digital subscription to Vegas Nation for all of 1 quarter. Chew on that, and that's our offer to you, our holiday now offer to you. And when we get back, we'll talk about some of the changes that were made on the offensive line.
Because that's about where it came out competing-wise, in practice, know that they both deserve to have a shot. So we want to get them on film and see what we can find out. I'm really anxious to see what that looks like, when we get back to it.
Welcome back to Vegas Nation First and 10, brought to you by the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos, STN Sports. And that was Pete Carroll again from SoFi Stadium tonight, talking about the little rotation that was going on at right guard with rookie Caleb Rogers, and then also Antonio Mafi, kind of a journeyman offensive lineman, kind of bounced around a little bit, but also a young player in his own right. And they got the assignment at right guard. as Pete talked about. They watched him in practice and felt both of them deserved to get on the field and put something out on film. And Pete Carroll was eager to go and check it out and see what the youngsters put out there. And then specifically Caleb Rogers, I tried to zero in on him a few times. I'm looking forward to going back and watching the tape. But I thought, at least from my vantage point, and the times that I really zeroed in on him, didn't do necessarily a bad job, and something to build on for the young guard from Texas Tech.
Yeah, and I thought particularly in the run game, maybe some struggles in the pass protection a little bit, but maybe that's to be expected. And I thought, look, he wasn't like mowing people down and clearing holes. Obviously, they weren't able to really generate anything in the run game. But I thought individually, there were some times where he looked pretty comfortable,
walled off
and
his
pretty
guy.
confident in the run game. I thought Mafi as well. There were some blocks that I thought were pretty good on his side. There was one play in particular where you watched the play live and said, looks like every defensive lineman got in the backfield. And then you watch and you're like, oh, no, actually, Mafi had a really good block on that play and knocked somebody down. So, like, good for him. But it can't be one guy. It has to be the entire unit. They have to work all together cohesively. And that does take time. And that's part of what Caleb Rogers said in the pass game, where he said he thought he did good in some areas in the run game. But he said in the pass game, it's just such a process of it's not just, hey, who do I block and did I block him well? It's, all right, there's certain times where, all right, I have to decide if the guy to my outside or my inside needs help. Who needs help on this play? Who's going to beat? Where do I go? I got my guy. Now who do I go help on this one? And, figuring out stunts and all those different things in the communication and the different protections. And, like, all those things are works in progress. All those things are part of why it's a group effort as an offensive line, not just, hey, did I block my guy? A lot of times you hear, coaches and players will say it's about all 22 guys just doing their job on a play. Well, it's not. It's about some groups. It's definitely about working together. Receivers, it's, hey, I ran my route well, but I didn't run it in a way that helped my teammate get open, who might have been a better source on that play. Yeah, those sorts of things. Yeah. So, but it's a group effort. And sometimes you have to have that experience with the guys around you in order to get there. And look, the Raiders are still a work in progress. Like, because these young guys, it took so long, a lot of cases for them to even get any action. Like, now they're just starting to learn that at this point in the season.
And it's unfortunate that because I don't know. Hey, I'm going to defer to Pete Carroll. He's been doing this a long time. And to whatever extent any of the other coaches have that role in it. But if I was a Raider fan, or if I were the Raiders, I sure would have liked to have gotten to this point in the season and seen Jackson Powers Johnson, who I think is the best center on the team, working with Caleb Rogers as his right guard. I think that's a combination moving forward that could work, and we'll see. Obviously, there's no guarantees, but it sure would have been nice for them to have gotten a little bit of that on film. And certainly unfortunate for Jackson Powers Johnson to get hurt, because I think that would have been something that they could build on. And so, look, Pete Carroll has made it pretty clear, at least in some cases, that maybe he's turned the corner a little bit too. As he said, he wanted to get both of those players on film. That's not just for this year. That's for next year too, to make some decisions and make some calculations and all of that stuff. And I feel like same thing is occurring in the secondary. You might get frustrated that Caillou Blue-Kelly is out there along with Darian Porter, the rookie. But look, we've been saying this as up and down as Caillou Blue-Kelly has played. There have been some ups. And he is a young player.
Make him play tonight.
Yeah, he made a really nice play actually in the was it in the end zone or right outside the end zone? With an interception.
In the end zone.
It started in the end.
Brought it out to the one instead of.
Brought it to the two. Yeah, exactly.
But he made
that,
play.
I was remembering him running down the field towards us.
He did run all the way to the other end zone.
But that was after the whistle had blown.
Yeah, but he did step out like at the 1 or 2. So instead of getting out to the 20, but I think that would have been really tough to actually take the ball out of bounds inside the end zone. That's not a critique at all. That's just kind of unfortunate that happened where he stepped out of bounds right there.
The point is though is that
he makes plays.
And it's two young players that they are getting out on the field, getting some experience, and really, you can't argue with that. That's what this year, and especially at this point.
If Caillou was 28,
of course,
I would be saying, like, okay, enough.
Right.
Like, go.
But he's not.
He's still a third-year guy. He's still a young player. So, you are still like. It's not just rookies that need time to develop.
Right.
Need time to be seen. It's those second, third, fourth-year guys too. So that is fine. I think at that position. Again, if it was a different scenario,
right?
One of them's 28, one's 21. You're like, okay, play the 21-year-old.
Of course.
But they're both young players.
Right. So, and same with Mafi to some extent. So,
25, right? So I mean, he's not old. He's
No.
still youngish.
Exactly. And so he's showing them in practice, and that's what Pete Carroll stresses is competition and competing in practice to earn some time in the game. And to his word, that's what's happening at some positions. And again, it's a small little glimmer, but if you're a Raider fan, it's kind of what you have to start focusing on right now, because that's what you exactly. That is what you got, until next year when there's a draft and there's free agency and they bring in other players. For the rest of the season, that's literally all you got. And I thought that Jack Besh, 2 catches, both went for first downs.
Yeah. Third and Besh.
He's somebody that when he touches the ball so far this year, at the very least, he knows how to get first downs.
Yeah, and I was just gonna switch over. You were saying, the glimmer of hope, and I said that too. The glimmer of hope that they have, like all you really have is watching the young guys develop. You also have following the drafts, and
yes, there you go.
The Raiders lost, and for some reason, the Jets did something incredibly idiotic and won a game. But really, what they did is put Tyrod Taylor in, who's going to win you games, and he won a game. And so that is good news for the Raiders.
Yeah.
They move up a spot in the potential draft order, and they are now up there against a team that is probably thinking quarterback in the draft in the New York Jets.
Yep.
And they are now behind the Raiders because they did something very, very silly and won a game today. And we talk about this, and I know there's some fans roll their eyes and like, I don't want to cheer against the team or whatever, but you see what happens.
Are you really cheering against your team?
No, you're cheering for the team's future. You're cheering for them to have long-term success.
Exactly.
So you're not cheering against your team at all. But, in the case of Jets fans, I'm sure tonight they're like, why did we just win that game today? It makes no sense in the world. And you're certainly going to be thinking that on draft night. Why did we win that silly game and put in a veteran quarterback that was going to win the game?
Do you think the San Antonio Spurs fans even remember how many wins they did or didn't have Victor Wembanyama and Tim Duncan, a few decades ago? That losing led to them getting Tim Duncan, and it just so happened that David Robertson got hurt that year, and that put them in that world, and they were able to build a dynasty basically because of that, because of the losing. So sometimes losing is a benefit.
I don't think there's a Tim Duncan in this draft, to be
no,
fair. But
of course,
but every
the concept,
right, and every spot helps, right? Even the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, you're drafting higher, than some of these other teams when you are able to lose.
I didn't mean to insinuate that there was a Tim Duncan. No way. I didn't.
No. I know that. What I'm saying, the concept is, you are cheering for your team if you're cheering for them to lose because you're cheering for their future.
Yeah.
That's what matters at this point.
Exactly.
This year really doesn't matter anymore. And it's about, even, Maxx Crosby said you're playing for the love of the game now, which is true. But you're also, you are playing for the betterment of the franchise, which is evaluating young players, seeing them in the game, and then potentially getting a higher pick.
You can bring up, he's a perfect example because as whatever his rookie year was 2019, right? So he got, as the year went on, got more and more playing time, right? And in a lost season, in a season that wasn't very good, they eventually crossed over because I don't think he started his rookie year, or he was in a rotation. I forget exactly how that all worked out, but as the season went on, he got more and more time, and looking back, that probably helped his development, his overall development. So
also, while he came in the league and was a pretty good pass rusher early, he really had a lot to learn in terms of defending the run.
Yeah.
You can do that in the film room, and you can do that in, at practices and things like that, but you're really going to learn in the game and seeing how teams approach you and how teams attack you in the run game, and seeing the different schemes and concepts they go after you with, and then picking up on those and getting better. And he's gotten so much better at understanding his role.
He's
in
a
the run
complete
game.
player. He played I put this. I wrote about this, in the observations, and the last one was Maxx Crosby, and a little bit of Brock Bowers in that too. But Maxx Crosby, there's still no let up in him, and he's playing like a maniac out there. And he had 2 sacks, 3 tackles for losses, was all over the field again today. And it really is. I mean, it's a testament to his professionalism because he could have, bagged it a while ago, and nobody would have blinked an eye, to be quite honest. But what an example for the rest of the team to, as he said, you're playing for pride. You're playing for the love of the game, and because you're a professional and you get paid. And there's something important about going out there and doing your job.
Yeah, and he does it. He continues to do it, and he will. But the results just don't necessarily matter. Well, they do matter, but they matter if you lose.
Yes, exactly. It's a much more beneficial right now to be losing. That's just the bottom line of it all. All right, that's going to wrap it up from SoFi Stadium, where the Raiders dropped their 6th straight game to fall to 2-10. By the way, 10 straight losses. 10 straight losses in the AFC West for the Raiders. You have to go all the way back to the end of the 2023 season when the Raiders last won a game in the AFC West. It's a division that the Raiders once owned, and now they are, the bottom feeder of this
Get another
division.
chance next week.
They do against the Denver Broncos on Sunday, and we'll be here to talk all about it. We'll be back on Wednesday, our normal slot on Wednesday, and then wrap it all up at the end of the week, although I think Adam's headed to Boise, Idaho. Beautiful, cold Boise, Idaho, where UNLV is.
UNLV in the Mountain West Championship.
Yep, and good for the Rebels. They earned that right with a big win last night against their arch rivals, the University of Nevada, right? Or what do we call them?
It's UNR.
UNR.
Or Reno.
Reno. We'll just call it Reno. But that's going to do it from SoFi Stadium. I want to say thank you for all of your support. We truly appreciate it. You're why we do this. Keep hitting the like button, the subscribe button. Don't forget to go over to mylvrj.com/nation and get the next 3 months of a digital subscription to Vegas Nation for one whole quarter. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll check back with you on Wednesday.